Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self realization. Please subscribe for the mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring Srimad Bhagavad Gita, commentaries by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently on chapter number 13, Kshetra Kshetragya Vibhag Yoga. Kshetra meaning the field, Kshetragya, the knower of the field. And today we are starting from Shloka number 30, where Lord continues to guide Arjuna with this mystic, deep insight. Yada bhuta prithag bhave mekasthamanupashyati eta eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada. When he sees the multiplicity of beings rooted in the self and emanating from the self, then he merges with Brahman. Very simple shloka, meaning that although we see all kinds of names, forms, animals, things, ultimately it's all multiplicity emanating from a holistic entity which is only one. We call it Brahman, consciousness, Atma, God, whatever name. But ultimately, there is only one source. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. There is only one truth, but explained differently by different teachers in different ways. So there cannot be multiple gods. There is only one entity which we call the ultimate source. So from there arises the multiplicity of different names and forms. And so when such a soul who has deep introspection, he understands that all this multiplicity is emanating from the true self. So he merges with Brahman, because he, to know God is to become God. So therefore, like the river that merges into the ocean can no longer be called a river. It doesn't have its individual identity anymore. So that is that journey. Moving on to Shloka 31. अनादित्वा निर्गुणत्वात् परमात्मा मायमव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते. Without being, without beginning, and devoid of gunas, that supreme self is immutable, meaning that we have a beginning and end. We are born and we die, but God does not do so. He does it whenever he comes to earth also, as a leela, as a sport. So the ultimate God, the Brahman, doesn't have a beginning and an end, and he is devoid of gunas. What are the gunas? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, as we all know. Sattva for purity, Rajas for activity, and Tamas for inertia. But God is beyond these. Thus, the supreme self is immutable, changeless, eternal, indivisible. We can give it many attributes. All those belong to the self. O Arjuna, though abiding in the body, the self does not perform actions, nor is he tainted by them. So it's simply like a screen. You may think of your Atma or consciousness like a movie screen. On the screen are all the projections of name and form and experiences and images, but the screen itself is unchanged, ever the same. So this is how the Atma is, ever the same. But on that Atma, the body, mind, intellect, ego, senses, they all play their part. But the Atma remains ever the same. Shloka number 32. यथा सर्वगतं सोक्ष्याम्यादाकाशं नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते. Just as the all pervading ether, due to its subtlety, is not tainted by anything, in the same way, the self abiding in all bodies is never tainted. So, a beautiful example is used of ether. Like ether gives us space. So, and it is not tainted by anything. Think of the sky. All the clouds, dirty, clean, full of rain, without rain, moisture, all that stuff is at the cloud level. The sky itself is ever pure, ever free. Much in the same way, no matter whether we have good people, bad people, what countries, names, religions, different attributes in the bodies, that's fine. The Atma inside is totally outside of all that. Just like the sky is not tainted by any kinds of clouds, much in the same way, the Atma or the consciousness or the self is not impacted by any kinds of bodies also. So beautiful way that Lord has explained this to us. Moving on to Shloka 33. यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नं लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत. Just as the sun illumines the entire world, in the same way, the one Atman, the Lord of the field, illumines the entire field of Bharata. So here God is explaining, like in each solar system, there is that one sun that illumines our entire world, yet there are countless reflections of that sun. In the same way, the same one Atman, the Lord of the field, illumines the entire field within us. What is that? The field is the senses, the ego, the mind, the body, everything that relates to it, the intellect, all that is the field that is being illumined by the self. This is Lord Krishna clearly explaining these deeper mysteries. And now we are on to the last shloka of this chapter, chapter 13. Kshetra kshetragyayorevam mantaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. Whoever thus sees by the eye of wisdom the distinction between the field and the knower of the field, also whoever gains insight into the state of liberation from Prakriti realizes the Supreme. So, here this is a beautiful shloka because God is telling us if we introspect deeper, meditate on it, understand the deeper meaning of what is meant by the field and the knower of the field, and not just know it theoretically but also experience it internally, then that soul becomes liberated, that soul becomes one with God. So but we have to use the eye of wisdom. Wisdom comes through humility, and experience comes through sincerely applying the teachings in our life. And then you know who is the knower of the field and what is the field, and then you also get insight into the state of liberation. Like we always say, only in a human embodiment is this possible. Therefore we should use this time preciously to our advantage and thus realize the supreme self. So with this we conclude this chapter. Om Tat Sadati Srimad Gita Su Upnishatsu ब्रह्म विद्यायां योग शास्त्रे श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञ विभाग योगो नामो त्रयोदशो अध्यायः संपूर्णं. बोलिए श्री कृष्ण की जय. Glory to Lord Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Thus in the Upanishad of the Bhagavad Gita, the knower of the Supreme Brahman, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, thus ends the 13th chapter entitled The Yoga of Distinction between the field and the knower of the field. Kshetra Kshetragya Vibhag Yoga. Hari Om Tat Sat. So we will start chapter number 14, also known as Gunatraya Vibhag Yoga. Gun means the attributes of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Traya means three. Vibhag are departments. Yoga is to connect with God. So we will learn what these gunas are in this coming chapter number 14, and how to transcend the gunas and how to use them to our advantage. So with this we conclude our satsang for today. Hari Om Tat Sat.